So, let's say I wanted to make something like this, but I don't want to make it look like this. What do we do? Well, first off, let's get started inside Dash Studio with Marade's Kusanagi model, link in the description. And we import that into Cinema 4D, and now it's off to the races. I want to build the same scene with roughly the same architecture as in the 2017 real life adaptation, because that lends itself pretty good to the amount of detail that I would want in the scene. So I'm just blocking out the base of the scene and just place everything where it roughly should be, so I can work with it at a later state, naming all these cubes and making sure the arrangement is correct. We bool the window and we bool the door, and we just make sure that everything is placed where it should be. We end up just adjusting a few minor things, then booling the window, and that's basically it. We now look for our city. We don't need 3D buildings. This is just a frame. This is not an animation, so a photo is fine. I'm color correcting a picture that I will use as a backdrop. For now, I won't end up using it, but that is our backdrop for now. So let's just put an emissive material on a plane and make sure the room is lit. We start cheating by using Quixel Bridge assets, mainly surfaces. That's all there is to it. The rusty wall is not working, so I'm looking for something else. And it's all about trying what works and what doesn't. You've heard me say that a million times, but it stays true. I've lit the room and I'm doing some basic texture work. We don't even want to work in realism, you know? So I apply normals, but her skin will be black anyways. There will be barely any reflections, and yeah. So we do another ground, we do some more detailing, we make sure that it's small, it's not big tiles. We do some more room detailing by doing some pipes. We want our major to stay black. I want this to be stylized and more close to the original anime than the adaptation, as I've said before. But I don't want to lose out on the details, so I want to make sure that our window is lit well, but the room offers some detail for the viewer to catch. I will post-process this to death when it comes to Photoshop, so don't you worry about that. I just want to make sure that the balance is there, that the right amount of detail is in the scene, so we can choose to bring it out or hide it in the back. We need some pillows, we need a blanket, so let's just go into Dash Studio for that, put that in Cinema. Don't forget that, and just put them there. I could have worked on the pose a bit better maybe, but for the silhouette, it works just fine. There's always room for improvement, but this is just for a showcase. And yeah, so let's put the wall tiling on, put that as an enclosure. It's just a cube. Don't get it twisted. It's nothing fancy, just a cube. Put that on the doorway, top, at the bottom, at the ceiling, so you get a bit more detailing on that regard as well. And yeah, just filling the room with some additional things and making sure it all works. And now I'm setting up all my render passes. I want to make sure that the window is separate and all the objects that I might want to group when it comes to Photoshop. I just have a bunch of passes that I don't even know if I'm going to use them. And here is my new backdrop. So I got rid of the old one, made sure that the light sources that are lighting the room have the same image texture as the backdrop, so it makes sense and somewhat coherent. Oh yeah, I'm just adjusting the final things before we go into Photoshop and then do some post-processing magic with a plugin I've never used before. This is my first time using that plugin, so let's see how that goes. Just doing some render passes magic, trying to get some detail out of a few things, and then it's straight into the Behance plugin, I believe. Yeah, so that's the Behance plugin, link in the description for Photoshop. It has the ability to bring out film, so to make your images or photos look like actual film, camera film. I like the old grainy look. I like the halation that some of these old cameras give off and the bloom. So from the beginning, it was clear that I want a dark room with a little bit of more detail than the original. Just enough that you can kind of grasp the fidelity of the scene, but I also wanted to have this old used film look with a lot of nasty grain and just halation all over the place. And we're pretty much getting there. So with a few tweaks and a lot of layers, we are going from this to something that is about to pop up after this linear wipe. And I think it captures the atmosphere quite well. The full image and quality, the full tutorial, it's about 3 hours, 30 minutes with commentary, and the Photoshop file is available on my Patreon at patreon.com/carlyfats. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you everyone for supporting.